This is the time, this is the place, and this is FC3's Monkey Business, your one-stop shop for everything geeky. And since everything is geeky, if you love it enough, you never know what you're going to get. This is your host. I am C. This week, we are welcoming Mitch Garrett, a local game runner and real play podcast runner for Twin Cities by Night, to talk to us about running urban horror and the challenges of writing a game set in a real city. And so that's cool. Welcome aboard, Mitch. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that conversation. Also in the studio with me, local radio legend Billy DeTore.
Huh? Whom? Yeah, that's me.
Billy, is it true that in your new contract you want to go by William Wallace DeTore?
In my new contract, I just want more money.
And more cats.
And maybe
more cats.
Not waking up at 3 in the morning.
I know, my God.
Or 1:45 to shovel.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, I know, seriously.
It was a tough week, but I'm here.
Also with
So,
us,
Polly, don't go on vacation again.
yeah, Polly's not allowed to go on vacation anymore, but Tanya's here. She's not on
Yes.
vacation at the moment.
No,
Hello, Tanya.
I am coming off of birthday celebration weekend. And
Yep.
I'm thanking Marvel again for releasing Captain Marvel on my birthday.
How was it?
It was great. Oh, my
what
God.
was the ending?
I'm not spoiling it for anybody else.
What was the beginning?
What was the big
Spoilers.
That's the by
I
the way,
think
Mitch,
the
you'll hear us do
beginning
that every
is
so often. Hang on a second, I guess.
the comic thing with Marvel.
The like 5-hour opening of all Marvel,
things.
of all Marvel
there's the
movies
opening,
now.
and there's a Stan Lee cameo.
I was just going to ask.
It's his last one.
I thought that was going to be an Endgame. Is the last stand.
Oh, Endgame.
Yes.
Sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
It is.
Now-
I thought that was the one I was seeing.
We have a running gag that we eventually are going to broaden our product line, and we're going to have our own fragrance, and it's going to be called Spoilers.
And we're going to get Alex Kingston to market it for us.
Yes. And dressed as River Song with the space hair and everything.
Yes.
All right. Last but not least, hello, producer Sherry.
Hello.
It's so nice to see you back where you belong.
You.
Well, hello, Sherry. Well, hello, Sherry. All right.
Because it's
Anyway.
not snowing currently, so she was able to...
See, a new one. Thank you. Anything's better than Frankie Valli.
We can get it.
No, please don't.
How about
Please
Bruce
don't.
Springsteen, Sherry Darling?
How about Steve Perry?
Steve Perry. That's my favorite.
That's the one.
That's my favorite.
See, and we got to talk about that contract again, Billy.
I
All
have
right.
something going on that pertains
To Steve
sort
Perry?
of to our topic today.
Oh,
Steve
do
Perry?
you now?
Where does that
Guess
come
what
from?
I'm going to be doing in the very near future?
She's going to be DMing. She's
Oh, I thought she was going to say bungee
DMing.
jumping.
No,
So you're going to take a table?
I am.
You're going to be the head chair there, huh?
I am. I'm going to finally bite the bullet.
That's amazing.
I did. I my ADD only kicks in it goes for so long before I whatever. So the current 5e game is longer than I ran my other one.
Nice.
So.
Nice.
You're doing a great job, by the way, Tanya.
Thank you.
Scott and I were talking about it the other day, and we're
Scott wants to become Ella Pool.
Yes, Ella Pool.
Ella Pool, 'cause
Our buddy's playing a halfling rogue.
Gnome.
Gnome rogue. Excuse me, gnome rogue. And is discovered that it loves getting in trouble.
Oh.
And he's starting to kind of like flavor the character in a particular way. So we're thinking this is going to become Ella Pool because it's Ella is the name of the
They
character.
came across unicorn-type bunnies.
Yes,
The
and so she wanted to befriend them all.
Al-Majra, whatever, these magical
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah, that's a thing.
Scott wanted one. He wanted one bad.
That's his new quest.
Yes.
All right, so Sherry, here's as a veteran dungeon master to a beginning dungeon master, I'm holding up the script of today's show. All right, this is all the preparation you're going to do. This is everything you're going to get.
Then you go like this.
That's what you do with it, because the players are going to go in an entirely different direction.
Oh, I don't know that.
Okay.
It's more fun that way.
So I offered up that Castle in the Sky dungeon that Tony picked a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
One bit to get to it.
We all wanted to do it, but then your freaking husband got on his
Who's
horse
lawful.
and rode away, and two people walked off with him, and I'm like, oh, great. And here I am, the party leader, going, great, they split the frigging party. No,
I'm like, yes,
keep that.
yes,
I tore
yes.
the one from the last script. Okay, that's why I was making sure. See, I'm very smooth at this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I'm already pissing off my players.
Good. Then
I'm already
you're doing your
pissing
job
them
right.
off. I since this is my first time, I wanted to stick with characters and classes and races that I understand.
Okay.
Stick to one book.
So, well, I pretty much said, okay, if it was in 2E, we'll do it. I've got. Can I be a drow? No. Can I be an Eladrin?
No.
Can I be a sorcerer? No.
No.
Can I be a warlock? No. One guy, I can't even remember what they're called, but they're like metal constructs.
Oh, Warforged.
Yeah. Can I be a Warforged? I'm like, what? Are you freaking kidding me?
Wasn't that Iron Kingdoms?
Yeah.
Melanie wants to be a changeling rogue. No. Stop it.
See,
Everybody needs to stop. So far I've got a ranger.
Good.
I've got a
Chris's
paladin.
favorite class.
Yeah.
Chris is not favorite class.
Monk's going to play a paladin.
Mm-hmm.
Melanie's going to play a rogue.
Uh-huh.
Will is going to, I think he's going to be a wizard.
Okay.
And I think Will's girlfriend Lois is going to be a druid. What the heck was that?
That was
Bloop.
someone that I work with signed on the Skype.
Oh, okay. And then
hello.
my friend Scott, who DM'd for me a while back, has not decided, but he's the one who wanted to be a Warforged. I'm like, you're just trying to kill me, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, what I did is I created all the characters out of the books and then had them randomly pick one.
Yeah, so she gave us a basic structure, and then we kind of filled in the gaps.
The gaps. So
Yeah, I'm not going that
and so
far.
I kept it to just the ones that were in the book. So
And I was the last person to pick, and wouldn't I pick up the character that I usually would just play anyway?
a ranger, yeah.
Human Ranger, really?
But you know, I don't. But I didn't
should be
even
a stretch.
think. I didn't. I just gave you the class and the alignment,
Right.
and the stats. But
That was it.
Everything else
You filled
could,
in.
you guys could fill in
Right.
because like Sean's a tiefling and Randy's a human. And
Yeah.
Hunter's like, I don't want to be a lawful good bard. I'm like, lawful good doesn't mean that you're nice. She's like,
No.
Jesus,
she's
no.
like, good point.
Yeah.
So
I've got a soft spot for druids myself.
See, look at this. All right.
that's
Rogues.
him on Warcraft.
Yeah.
Rogues. I've always.
It's
most
actually
enjoyed
funny.
playing
I've just
rogues.
taken a turn at the next level. This ranger who I've been building up for a couple of levels, he's going to start taking on druid levels because I just want to
Nice.
be the ultimate kind of like dude in the forest kind of thing.
Very
So,
cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah,
enough
you know
geeking
what?
out there because we're going to get to that in the.
because definitely I'm a new DM. I've done it once and then this time. If there's a question, like I've been sending either the note across to Randy because it doesn't involve him in regards to this combat situation, and he sends it back. He goes, I'm not I'm not up to date with 5e. Send it to Scott. So I send it over to Scott because it's definitely not affecting Scott's character.
Yeah.
So just to be able to make a determination on somebody
Which
else.
is great. You got 21st century technology helping you network and get information.
Yeah, to be able to help me.
You're doing fine.
And then I'm just like, well, and then all of a sudden I get like blasted the next day with Scott going blah 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 blah. Where did those unicorn bunnies go? I'm like, I told you. Now I have to think about the unicorn bunnies.
Well, when you said we were set in Forgotten Realms, then I was all in. Any doubt of continuing this conversation?
It's just at this point, I'm like, it's the easiest way because
Yeah,
then I can go to
love
any of the
it.
other 5e books that
Absolutely.
Evan brought me. So.
I'm totally stoked about that. All right. Anyway, so
Next week's my last week.
no, it isn't. No, it isn't. Please don't tell me that because I really don't want to go back to 3.5. When Evan said 3.5
it's
for
five.
the next campaign, I'm like, oh, I'm not in any rush to get to that. Not in any rush at all. Anyway,
Just kidding.
I know. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to
We're
have
not
ourselves a
gonna talk
proper
5e.
chat. Yes, we are. We're probably going to talk about a whole lot of things. But anyway, we'll be right back.
In 1999, the walls of hell cracked, and fallen angels condemned to an eternity in the abyss were suddenly able to flee. With no choice but to come to terms with the decaying remnants of the paradise they helped create, these escaped fallen must now decide whether they will rebuild their masterpiece or burn it to a cinder. Hello and welcome to Demon the Fallen, Fragments, a Demon the Fallen game set in Rochester, New York in the year 2001. This story features the character of Azoth, played by Tillman, Arakel, played by Rebecca, Brawlman, played by Adam, and Abathar, played by Slavic.
And postcode host played by Chris.
And Jerry Mathers as the Beaver.
And two Darrens.
White Wolf Publishing was founded in 1991 as a merger between Lion Rampart, and White Wolf Magazine. It published a line of several different but overlapping games set in the quote-unquote world of darkness, a modern Gothic world that, while seemingly similar to the real world, is home to supernatural terrors, ancient conspiracies, and several approaching apocalypses. The classic line of games included Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Mage the Ascension, Wraith the Oblivion, Changeling the Dreaming, Kindred of the East, Hunter the Reckoning, Mummy the Resurrection, and Demon the Fallen. Our guest today is Mitch Garrett. Mitch grew up in Rochester after relocating here as a kid. He began playing RPGs at the age of 14, much like many of us have, starting with D&D 2nd Edition in all of its Thaco glory. Mitch got into White Wolf games shortly thereafter and ran a Sabbat LARP, a live-action role-play, for about 5 years in the early 2000s, and a number of smaller games over the years. He has been involved in RWAG. RWAG, thank you. Sometimes I'm not up on all the things. Rudicon, SimCon, Unicon, and now Flower City Comic-Con. We have a little bit of intimate knowledge on that one.
We do?
Mitch first joined up with Twin Cities by Night on Fire, the Sabbat game. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Juarez on Fire was the Sabbat game that they ran.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just reading the script.
She was editing.
And continued to play from there. Fragments is his first venture back into storytelling in quite a few years, and is an amalgamation of numerous ideas that he's had over time. His use of Rochester as a setting is an outgrowth of having lived here for so long, and having started looking into the history of the city as part of this particular game. Mitch, welcome aboard.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Can I start with one small non sequitur?
Oh, sure.
As I told you when we were coming into the studio, that I'm all caught up on Fragments, and I'm enjoying it very much.
Thank you.
And every time I listen to you, I don't know if you'll take this as a compliment, but I mean it as a compliment. You sound so much like Will Wheaton.
Go ahead,
Thank
take
you.
it as a compliment. He's kind
I
of
will take that as a compliment.
I listen
Thank
to
you.
a lot of his audiobooks. He does
kind
audiobooks.
of a patron saint around here.
And you sound a lot like him.
Oh, well, thank you. It took me a second to remember who that was. I've had a very busy few weeks.
All right, so you're currently running a Demon the Fallen game under, as Sherry was mentioning, called Fragments, and it is set in our very own Rochester, New York in the year 2001 for your podcast channel, Twin Cities by Night. So how did that happen, and what can you tell us about the game so far?
Well, behind the scenes on the podcast, we toss around various ideas, and one of the ideas I had was to venture back into some of the older White Wolf games that I felt didn't get a lot of attention.
Okay.
And Demon, back in the day, I was able to play in one game shortly after the book came out, but that was it. But I love the setting. There's a lot of material in it to work with, and a lot of material outside of the immediate books that you could also refer to, which gives a lot of opportunities for various creative threads to be explored. And Rochester, I think, is an excellent setting for a game. I mean, having looked into the city's history when I was running the Sabbat LARP, and I've just continued looking into the city's history since then. I'm sort of like a local lore buff, I guess would be the term, the appropriate term. It just seemed like a natural fit to offer the game here in town, and I discussed it with the guys on the podcast, and they were like, yeah, that's a cool idea, we should do it. So we just fit it into the schedule, and when its time came up, we started
playing.
going, yeah.
So that's the thing I think that got most of my attention is you use our city, Rochester itself, as your playground, as your backdrop. Can you give me a situation and kind of describe one of the scenarios? You know, what area of the city did what happened? You know, who was involved? You know, what ancient evil lies beneath Kodak Park?
Oh, like in the lore that I've studied or in the game?
Well, in your game, in some of the situations that have unfolded in your game.
So we're only one episode in.
Okay.
We're actually recording the second episode tomorrow.
Okay.
And so far, we have one of the player characters waking up in the Hungerford building.
Oh, nice.
Let's see. Another player character woke up downtown. Sorry, not used to this kind of mic. Another player character woke up downtown in a restaurant from a drug overdose.
Okay.
Another player character woke up in a downtown apartment from a suicide attempt. And I can't remember the last one at the moment.
That's all right.
So,
well, having lived in this city for 48 years now, and I work for the city, so I know all the really good neighborhoods.
Industrial building.
Yeah.
The other one was the industrial
building.
The
the artist studio?
Yes.
That was the Hungerford, actually.
Oh, okay.
If you need a location of vacant industrial buildings or shady neighborhoods, just let me know.
Oh, I will.
can tell you where they all are.
I will. I just remember the last player character woke up in Toronto having been murdered.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Wow.
Oh, I love it. I was murdered, but I got better.
Speaking of Monty Python,
That almost fits
Would
in
you
with last week's
stop?
Monty Python episode.
our last episode was on Monty Python.
Not dead yet.
Not dead yet. I feel happy. I'm in
not fooling
Toronto,
anyone.
but hey. And is that character going to be able to get across the border?
Already
Yes,
has.
he did. He
Okay.
did.
He
They
did get
are-
across the border
yeah.
already?
We're going to be starting the episode that we're recording tomorrow. There's going to be a vignette explaining how all the characters came together.
Okay.
One of our players, Tillman, is going to be unavailable for the episode, so I'm going to have to work around that.
Okay.
But he's got family visiting.
There you go.
So and
I get that.
It's kind of interesting playing across different time zones as well, because we've got a player in the Czech Republic, we've got a player in Germany.
Wow. Okay.
And you guys do not sound like it, which is why I want to talk to you.
Yeah. I want to get the technology down. Make things a little easier on
We
Sherry.
want to expand what we offer, not just FC3 Monkey Business, which is more of a talk show type format. One of the things that we've been looking at is doing real play.
Okay.
And with me 2 hours away in Utica and Chris and Tanya here who might want to play and other people who are in different areas, we really want to work on that technology.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to discuss that with you guys.
Awesome.
Was it hard to set up, that kind of a thing?
Not really. It was actually very easy.
Okay.
Individuals having their audio equipment break here and there is probably the biggest
That's the big-
complication
okay.
we've faced so
That's
far.
a thing.
I
Now-
think my issue would be internet dropping.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, we've had that
Has that
as well.
not gotten any better?
It dropped twice yesterday.
Wow. Well, it's better than the 6 times the day before.
Yeah, well,
So it's an improvement.
kind of.
Trying to look at the positive. Always look at the bright side of life.
So this is something that I talked to you about when we talked the other day. That I do listen to real play podcasts. I enjoy them very much. But you do something that you do 2 things that I haven't seen before that intrigue me with your show. The first one being the individual episodes for people to, okay, this is who my character is, this is their background. I really, really enjoyed that because a lot of times you'll get just okay, hi, I'm Bob and my character is Steve and I'm a thief. And then you got to try and figure out who's who and what's going on. And sometimes that can be really confusing when you're just listening to it. So I loved that this is my character. And Demon is very complicated. It is not an easy game if you're not real familiar with the rules, which I'm really not.
Yeah, you're basically making 2 characters
Yeah.
and smushing them together.
Yeah, because it's a possession thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you have to have the demon themselves accounted for.
Okay, so for
Here we go.
those out there who don't know, the
Okay.
basic premise of the game is that the walls of hell have cracked and demons, fallen angels, can escape now. But they are constantly being sucked back into hell. There's like this big black hole effect on them. So in order to avoid that, they have to anchor themselves in a human body.
Okay.
And as long as they're possessing a body, they're fine. 9 times out of 10, they possess a body that's recently died. Someone who's either overdosed or been murdered or suicided, what have you. On occasion, they'll possess a body that had been in a coma. But the personality of the demon and then the personality of the person who had been in that body merge to some extent.
Interesting.
And so the demon's understanding of Earth, more or less, is based on that person's understanding of Earth, plus whatever memories they may still retain from before the fall.
Okay.
So it's, you're making 2 characters and trying to figure out how they fit together.
That's interesting.
And in 2 of instances on your show, you've got a male demon inhabiting, or is it just one, or a male demon inhabiting a female body?
I think that might be 2 instances.
Yeah, I think it's 2. I'm pretty
There's
sure it's
hijinks
2.
involved there.
It's a very interesting concept, and and that leads me into the other thing that I find interesting is third person. You're not, you see this, you do this, and they're not saying, well, everything is, because there's really kind of 2 characters for each person. You're using names and third person, and so are the player characters, which I find very interesting.
I'm also doing that to sort of highlight the alienation between the characters and the world that they're in, because they don't know what is going on. They just got out of hell
Yeah.
in the first episode. So a car, what the hell is that? They've got no idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's describing that kind of technology and that setting.
Technology, drugs,
smells.
sights, going over, like, there was a blowtorch in one scene, so I'm describing it as a tube with a hot blue flame coming out of it, attached to a bigger tube that ends abruptly.
Here's an idea, is if you get them over by Kodak Park, Maplewood Pond, and that neck of the woods in the summertime, and you can smell this wonderful scent of it. It's almost very familiar. It's almost like hell itself is reaching out through the Genesee River. It's just Kodak. Just Kodak and Genesee River. But anyway, pollution's a beautiful thing. Can be used as a plot device. I'm just saying. It's funny because ever since, I don't know what it is, but ever since you guys mentioned that you play in Rochester, I'm thinking of all of the neighborhoods and all of the various locations and cool things that, like,
I've got
stuff can happen.
I have a nice thick notebook that's at least 15 years old at this point, with, like, carved out maps from old phone books, stuff that I have found in little, like, news articles.
Because it's not today. It's not Rochester today. It's Rochester
almost 20
years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the initial scenes were in 1999.
Yeah.
So
because we're going to party like it's 1999.
Yes.
Awesome.
I remember that year well.
I unfortunately have not managed to erase it from my brain yet. I'm trying hard.
More
1999.
booze.
Seriously. Now, compared to the other White Wolf titles, I mean, you guys mentioned the complication. It sounded more like you were giving me a role-playing complication than anything else with Demon, with the two characters and whatnot. Are the mechanics similar? Do they all run under the same kind of dice system?
They all have the same basic dice system. Where the mechanics tend to differ is the specific elements of each supernatural. So, like, the vampires will have their blood pool. They'll have, frenzy dice, or, well, not frenzy dice. That's the current system. They'll have, an opportunity to frenzy. You'll have to deal with virtue, stuff like that. Werewolves, they'll have gnosis, and they'll have rage. Mages have arete and, paradox. Wraiths have passions, pathos. They have their shadow.
Now, here's my follow-up question, because I'm really not familiar with it. I have a Vampire the Masquerade book, but I've never somebody gave it to me, said you might find this interesting. It's used. Go ahead. And I never opened it.
We played Vampire one session, and we were given a scaled-down version of the book or the rules or whatever when Matt Dixon was in town.
Okay.
And Sean was able to, just by pure luck, figure out what he needed to do to build his blood pool, but the rest of us are like,
yeah.
It was just something I'm like that we weren't necessarily immersed in.
We're probably not used to it because we're so used to our D&D rules,
right? And so we're just like,
it doesn't. I'm getting the impression that doesn't just fit nicely into.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. Very
now,
different
so the
systems.
question I was going to ask though is, can these systems overlap? Like, if you have a vampire and a werewolf and a mage and a demon and all that, can they be in the same game and still function?
Yes. It's not a smooth transition, but it can happen.
But it can happen.
Yes.
I was just wondering, what kind of universe White Wolf was constructing, in essence. That was my question.
Well, the games were originally intended to be played separately. They hadn't really anticipated that people would do crossovers.
Okay.
But then crossovers naturally happen.
Yes.
And there's a considerable power imbalance at starting level characters. Like, a starting level werewolf is just a murder machine.
Okay.
There's no way around it. They will just kill everything very, very quickly.
All right.
Whereas a starting level vampire has to be a lot more careful, and a starting level mage could theoretically just blow themselves up if they're not careful.
That could be fun. Can we play a game of Mage with Evan?
He would probably blow himself
I'm
up.
serious. I want to see that happen. That would be entertaining as hell to me.
See, so in the intro, I said that I was I was going to actually going to run a game for the first time.
Right.
That's not strictly true.
Oh.
Many, many years ago, probably around 2000, 2001, I was involved. I played a couple of sessions in a vampire game and loved it. I've always loved horror role playing. Cthulhu, Beyond the Supernatural, Chill. I've always loved horror role playing. But this was my first time, and I was loving it. But the guy who was running it decided he wanted to step down, and he asked me and his wife to take over. Neither one of us had ever done it, but we spent like 2 weeks, like almost every day, talking and planning. And what you said about throwing everything out. We did one session, and it went great. It even kind of actually bordered on LARPing, because at one point my husband said, my character wants to do this. And we're like, you fail. He's like, why would I fail? And I'm like, because you can't do that. He took us outside and said, and this is how you do this. And we went, you passed. You proved you could do it, so we'll accept that. So for the next session, they brought in another friend, really old friend of mine, friend from high school. And he and my co-GM's husband proceeded to absolutely destroy the entire game. Purposefully. They actually got together and decided they were burning everything to the ground. After begging us to take over, and burning to the ground, they burned down the safe house.
So it was a spot game.
I was so mad. And I never got behind a game screen again. Never. I was like, that's it. I'm done. Until now.
Until recently.
Until now. So.
Sabbat games tend to be notorious for devolving into chainsaws in shopping malls.
There's imagery for you.
They killed everybody, started wars between factions, burned down the safe house. We're just like, okay, screw you.
I think that's going to be tonight's game because we're starting a new game tonight.
And they're all bad guys.
Except for Tyler.
Rocks fall, everyone dies.
Yeah, they're all going to basically try to figure out how to kill Tyler in a spectacular fashion.
So we've always just not played evil whatsoever. We've skirted the line with chaotic neutral and things like that. But Mark's character is lawful evil. Sean's character is lawful evil. My character is neutral evil.
Yeah, this is
and
all
then
fun.
my son Tyler, who's 20, I helped him create a mage character the other day when he was on my shit list. He was chaotic good. I'm like, you do realize that we are going to kill you. And he's like,
don't be surprised when it happens.
Don't surprise when you die the first night. And he's like, no, I'm going to try to change you for good. I'm like, good luck with that.
Hey, you know what? That's a great character concept,
and
though.
I'm like, good luck with that. Because
he's going to try and reform the rest of the party.
Because I know I'm going to get myself into scrapes, and it's going to be Mark and Sean honor bound to get me out of it.
Uphill battles can be some of the most entertaining.
Yeah, so we're going to see how to... And my husband's the DM, and he usually DMs all of it, and he just throws everything out for a sandbox game, and as our Thursday night, he goes, we'll let you see what you guys get into, and we nearly ran into the vampires.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, we're waiting for you guys.
Whoopsie. So what are some of the challenges that you are experiencing putting all of this together? You have the logistical nightmare of everybody in different time zones and whatnot. But now, and I'm thinking that the fact that you have somebody in Germany halfway around the world is going to lend to some kind of, they don't know Rochester, I'm assuming.
No, they don't.
All right, so your ability to describe some of this stuff and kind of come to the, it's going to be new for them in that particular.
Well, thankfully, American culture is so pervasive worldwide
that
true. A lot of the references are not lost on the international.
So you can talk about Zweigels and garbage plates, and just about anybody will pick up on it,
or they'll Google it.
There you go.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, my question: what kind of challenges are you facing putting this game together right now?
Honestly, scheduling is probably the biggest challenge. Just making sure everyone's lives can mesh up in such a way that it all becomes possible.
Gotcha.
As far as using the city itself, getting the history correct, because you got to go back and you got to look at the details. What was here in in 2001 and '99? Where did it go? Did anything interesting happen? Who was the mayor? Who was the chief of police? Little things like that matter to me. So of course I go back and I look it all up. So there's a considerable amount of research, which can be challenging at times because not everyone records every little thing from back then.
Do you find yourself going to locations, just kind of walking around and staring at it? And
my cell phone is full of photos.
That's great.
That I intend to use. I park for work. I wander downtown sometimes after I'm done at the office or even before I go in. I take photos so that everyone has something to refer to. I'm going to be doing that after this today.
Okay.
Because St. Mary's, which is right down the street, is actually one of the locations that I'll be using in the game.
Cool. I offer, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but Turning Point Park on the river up by the beach.
I have heard of it, yes.
Okay. I used to work there for Parks Department many years ago, so I know it's a forever wild park. There's lots of trails. There's nature walks. There's stuff that could right on along. I think it would be a great kind of an ambush spot. I'm just saying. Just saying. There's Cobb's Hill, Genesee Valley.
The White Ladies Castle.
White Ladies Castle is a great place. Oh, I mean, the things you could do there would be a lot of entertainment.
St. Joseph's Park is also going to come up.
Good. Very cool.
Burnt out church. The weird little freestanding archway in front of the DA's office.
Yes.
Down by the Watts building. I intend to use that as well.
The burned out church you were talking about. Yeah.
City Hall.
City Hall. No, see, here's the thing. There's stuff going on at City Hall that the demons run away from. I'm just saying.
Maybe they're helping along the lines.
That would make a lot of things make more sense.
Comment withheld.
I'm not local. I
See, that's
can't
where my
help.
office is. I still work for the
There's
city.
a few problems going on right now.
Yeah.
His desk is haunted.
My My day job is a building inspector for the city.
That's why he
I'm at
said
City
if you
Hall.
know if you need bad places,
Yeah.
he knows where to find
I know where all the good
Oh,
neighborhoods.
good. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk after
Yeah.
this then.
Yeah. Slumlords that are demons. That would make sense to me. I've dealt with some guys that I'm like, you are just not of this world, man. Some of the things they say, it's just like, okay, now these are insights I can help out.
I think I rented from one of them once.
Yeah. I think we all have at one point or another.
I did, but in an entirely different city.
Yeah. So that's cool. That is so cool. And then I'm sitting there thinking, well, I want to run a game in Rochester now.
Oh, every World of Darkness game that I've run has been in Rochester.
That's great.
I mean, it was actually... There have been some weird coincidences as well.
Oh, yeah?
When I was running the Sabat LARP, there was one particular plot line that I was running that involved a series of arsons.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't you know it, one of the nights that I'm running that plot line, where it's down by the public market, the railway building, that building burns down.
Oh, my
And we are
God.
across the street in the Hungerford building at a dance studio running the game, staring at the fire while we're talking about this arson
Arson.
plot. And we're like, oh, boy.
That's interesting.
So-
When life imitates art.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, when art imitates life and vice versa.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, you're going to be running a game at the convention,
Yes, I am.
which is great because being a gamer nut myself, I've always wanted to have that kind of component. And we've had great folks come in and do board gaming and we've had the video gaming and whatnot, but this is the component that I've been looking forward to start installing the most is getting the
You're
role-playing
welcome.
table. Yeah, well, I've been thanking you for that. I don't want to
Credit where credit's due.
Exactly. But to have that component where people are around the table and rolling dice.
And Chris, can I tell you?
Go ahead, tell me.
He wants the late slot. He wants the after hours 7 to 9 slot.
Good, then I'm going to join.
That's why I'm
I'm
telling
in.
you.
I'm in.
Because you will not be at the wrestling ring.
No, I won't.
Well, no. Where's Chris? He's
Downstairs.
downstairs somewhere.
I'm not terribly good at keeping things PG-13.
I'm okay with
That-
that.
Which is why he's taking it to the.
I'll be there
IS.
too.
Yeah.
Chris, you can pull out the thong again.
Yay!
Oh, come on! I just
Thong,
burned
thong,
that.
thong,
just
thong,
burned that out of
thong,
my
thong,
head.
thong.
Let me call up some of my Rocky friends, we'll just we'll all be in costume.
You'll have to listen to the Monty Python episode to understand what that reference is.
Oh God, help me!
Last week was fun. All right. Anyway, so
still
like I
don't
said,
get
you're
it.
going to be running a game at FC3. You're going to be doing it in the evening slot. Okay. And is there a particular one of the? Is it vampire, demon, werewolf? Which one are you going to be doing?
I haven't decided yet.
Haven't decided yet.
I've been toying with ideas in my spare moments between other things. And I've got a few. I just don't know which one I'm going to run with.
Okay.
So will you already have like all the characters ready to go?
That's actually one of the things that I've been considering.
That's probably the easiest.
Yeah, that
Yeah, because
I've done.
You're not spending an hour of character creation and then all of a sudden you're done.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
I've run LARPs at Rubicon, SimCon, and Unicon, all of which were conventions. I don't know if you guys are aware.
I used to
from
go to
way back
Rubicon
when.
back in the 80s and 90s. Is it still
Okay.
active? I didn't know that they were playing still.
I think it is still active.
That's great.
Is that the one at RIT?
That's the one
It
at
is.
RIT, and SimCon was U of R.
correct.
I've played
Yes.
SimCon too, but that was, again, those were a long time
I was going
ago.
to say, Tyler was in Stroller when we went to SimCon.
I was in a BattleTech tournament at SimCon where I did not get a chance to play, but I designed all of the mechs that my team used. And after it was done, that was one thing about BattleTech I loved was designing the actual machines. And I was sent a letter after SimCon and told I was never allowed to be a part of that ever again because everything was too good. And I'm like, I can go ahead and I'll design for the entire, they're like, okay, fine. And so, but it never came to pass. But I was like, I'll design mechs for everybody. But, that was funny.
You framed that, right?
No, unfortunately, it got lost in a couple of moves. So
It happens.
I kept it in a folder, but then the folder disappeared somewhere along the line. I was very sad about that. But anyway, moving on.
So, but you also talked about possibly doing a panel.
Oh, yeah, I'd happily do a panel.
That's cool.
Do you know what topic?
I thought you were talking about doing a panel on sort of what we're talking about today, just expanding it using a local location.
That would be great. That would be great. You said you were going to have you signed up yet?
I have not signed up yet.
Okay.
All right, we're going to slap you on the wrist, get you on that one.
So if you need help coming up, if you need help coming up with your concept for your panel, but yeah, that's basically. I would
right.
love to see you how
that'd be
to
cool.
set something, how to set up a game in an existing city, and the type of things that you've done. That'll be fantastic. I
Yeah,
really will
absolutely,
look forward to
absolutely.
hopefully you'll be in my panel.
Quick question for your panel. Would you prefer it on a Saturday or Sunday before the game? Approximately what time? Just so we can plan to put it in.
We will.
We are the schedulers.
They have ulterior motives for asking you these questions.
I have
at the
access to
moment.
Grotix, and it just helps us kind of identify. So in where it says any additional information or whatever, and it say I want it at blah 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 time on Saturday before the
End of the world.
as we know it.
And we feel fine.
Just so it, then we're not going back and forth. Going, does this work for you? Does this work for you? This is.
I'd probably have to say Saturday on that one because that Sunday we're doing another episode of Dread
Okay.
on Twin Cities by Night,
Yeah.
where I play magical depressed Clint Eastwood.
Ooh.
Magically. Okay.
Yes.
That's awesome. So where did it all begin for you, Mitch? How did you get into RPGs and
Oh, Jesus. So I was down in Connecticut visiting an old friend of mine, and he and I just played a session of D&D because we were bored on a summer afternoon. And I started reading the books, and then he was really big into the Dark Sun setting.
Okay.
So I read some of the books, we talked about it, and then he, handed me his brother's notebook on vampires, so I read that a little bit. And then I came back to Rochester, and I was like, well, now I need to go buy these. And I started buying them, I started reading them, I started trying to play here and there. Didn't have a lot of friends who were into it right up until I became a freshman in high school.
Okay.
And then, this one guy that I knew was like, hey, we're going to this LARP. You should join us. And I was like, what's a LARP? And he's like, well, you like vampire, right? And I was like, well, yeah. So we went down to one of the RIT LARPs, and it all sort of snowballed from there.
Okay. And never looked back.
Never looked back. I played for a few years, and I was like, I should run one. And then I ran one, and I really enjoyed running it. Ran another one briefly. And then
Now, has D&D been left in the dust at this point? You're all in on the White Wolf products?
Oh,
or?
no, not at all. Not at
Okay.
all. I actually was participating in a D&D game at my old job.
Okay.
I was a wood elf druid drug dealer with a bad habit of poisoning the party
Whoops.
with shrooms.
How come I can see Scott doing that?
Oh, see, here's the thing about my buddy Scott. He has a sickness when it comes to role-playing games. You tell him that you're about to start a new game, and he will then, within about 2 days, have 60 different character concepts. And I wish I was exaggerating, but 60 different character concepts, and then he's at war with himself with which one he wants to play. And as he's narrowing it down to about 4 or 5, then he'll come up with another 5 or 6, and then he's the most torturous thing I've ever done to him was to tell him that I was going to be starting a new game in 6 months.
Oh, jeez.
And it just, he was like, once a week I would get a text message from "You're a bastard," and
He
because
just shows up with a phone book of characters.
he
Oh, he
has
does.
done that. We actually, what was it?
You started a game. And we had them all. We all created our characters.
Yes.
And then you said,
All right, everybody, hold your character sheet up and hand it to your left.
And one of our friends that we didn't let in on the joke.
She just like tore her character
She
sheet
tore her
up.
character sheet up. She's like, I just
didn't
put all this
understand.
effort into it to get it past to that. We're like, no, it was really a joke on Scott. And Scott's like, I would have been okay with it.
Yeah. Then there was the time where he put he created a character and he would slip it in an envelope and put it on a stack, and then what happened? We would shuffle the envelopes and make him pick one.
Oh, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
The best is saying, okay, that we were
Why
playing
are
a
we
game,
on this tangent? I can't remember.
Playing
There was
playing a game, and then all of a sudden we're like, okay, we're
Yeah.
starting a new game today, and Scott's like, I didn't have any time to prepare.
Yeah. Why are we? How did we get on that tangent?
Whether he was going to create his own, he was going to create
his
characters.
druid that was D&D.
Yeah, the druid.
Oh, right.
The
And then
D&D
Scott would have done
Scott,
that.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Because that happened. See, this is why.
But I can bring it back.
But we're trained professionals.
Yeah.
We really are.
As soon as I picked up my phone, it was like, yeah, I'm not even going to try and get
No.
them off this tangent.
They're off and away.
Script? What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? We totally missed cat wrangling day.
Cat wrangling day.
Yes. I have my
Tell me
own
more.
holiday.
You do,
I
producer
do.
Sherry. You have
I
a
do.
cat wrangling day.
There is one.
Well,
That's a thing?
It's
That
a
is
thing.
a
Apparently,
thing.
it's news to me too.
Yes.
well, we're all the cats that she tries to wrangle.
Nailing Jello to a tree is keeping us on point. And what's next? I mean, you've got stuff going on in Fragments. Do you have any other projects brewing?
For the Twin Cities by Night podcast, we've got an Inferno game that we're working on right now. Slavic is going to be running that.
Okay.
We're continuing with Dread. We're going to be picking up the Hunter game again soon. And then Chris has also started running a Ghouls game called Servitude.
Okay.
Which, if it hasn't already dropped, it should be dropping very soon.
Okay. My question is this. I am not familiar with the White Wolf products. I have not played any of them. I've heard about them, and I've watched other people kind of like talk about them, but I myself have never delved into it. Is there one system above them all that would be great for a beginner? You know, like, here, you know what, Chris? Here's your White Wolf introduction. Try this book first, or it doesn't matter.
Okay, so it depends on which version of the World of Darkness you're going for, because there's the classic World of Darkness, which is the one that was released starting in the 90s.
Okay.
There's the new World of Darkness, which was released in 2004. And then, of course, you get the various edition wars, whether it's First Ed Vampire, Second Ed, Revised, Fourth Ed, Fifth Ed, what have you. Honestly, I would say any of the X20 books, like Vampire 20, Werewolf 20, those are a good place to start, because those are sort of omnibus books that cover the entire line more or less in one spot.
Okay.
But for ease of use, I would say the New World of Darkness first edition, they're calling it Chronicles of Darkness.
Chronicles of Darkness, gotcha. Okay.
The Blue Humans books are very straightforward. It's a solid system, very easy to work with. Honestly, it's some of the best stuff I've ever read that had been put out by White Wolf.
All right. I need that noted for me, because I'm never going to remember that.
It's on our podcast.
Is it on their podcast? I should listen to our podcast.
You should listen to our podcast.
I do that once in a while. All right.
Should I hit record?
So what was the one that you weren't sure if it had dropped yet? Because I'm on your
Servitude.
It hasn't dropped yet.
Okay.
All right.
It's a source book for Vampire, right?
Yeah, he's basing it off of Ghoul's Fatal Addiction is the book that he's running it from.
Ghouls.
Fatal Addiction. Yeah, it's a pretty unpleasant book in spots. So
A little
be
graphic.
careful. Yeah, a little graphic.
Okay.
I'm seeing Changeling. I'm seeing I'm
Vanity.
seeing Cthulhu.
Yep, we did a Cthulhu one-shot. We've got another Cthulhu one-shot that's in the works. We haven't set a date on that one yet.
Scion.
Yep, we did a Scion for White Wolf. Or no, for Onyx Path.
Vampire, of course.
Yep.
The Brian Diaries.
Yes, that's sort of Chris's baby. That's a sort of a talk show. They pick a topic, they discuss it. We also have book reviews on there. One of the book reviews were sort of my deal. That sort of fell off. I got busy with other things, so I need to pick that back up again.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the most recent things that I'm seeing.
Yep. And Brian is a reference. It's sort of an inside joke. When Chris started running Twin Cities by Night, like every second or third NPC was named Brian for some reason. So we just started calling everything Brian.
Brian.
Yep, the Brian Diaries.
It's like
Brian
Elvis from
reviews.
Account Temps.
Yep.
That's funny. Now, conversely, all right, you should give me ideas on how to get into it, where to dip my toe in the water, as it were. Is there one of the White Wolf systems that misses the mark? Is there one that you just like, I don't want to play that one?
There are some that are notorious. Kindred of the East is particularly notorious. It came out, when the anime craze was really beginning in the late 90s.
I see. So it was catering?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very much so, in fan service to some extent. I would say second edition Exalted is probably one of the most complicated of the White Wolf games.
Okay.
That one is a tome.
Oh.
Yeah, third edition, from what I understand, is also very complicated, but it's a little better explained in its complication. So those might not be the best place to sort of dip your toes.
Gotcha. What do you think? Should we try a vampire game sometime?
We could do it for our test kitchen.
We could do that, definitely. That's going to be a future podcast. We're going to start doing test kitchens.
It's going to be called the RPG Test Kitchen, and we're going to bring back old stuff and try brand new stuff that maybe just got kickstarted or stuff
so we'll
like
be
that.
doing a lot of one-shots.
So we're going to be bringing in people to run games, hint, hint, hint.
and like podcast it while we're running it?
Yes, basically.
So does someone have a copy of Tales from the Floating Vagabond?
Tales from the Floating Vagabond. No, I do not, but it sounds familiar. Why do I know that? I know that title. What is it? Tell me more about that.
That book plus a few beers is a great night.
Okay.
It's a comedy game.
There's a recipe.
The Floating Vagabond is sort of this interdimensional bar on an asteroid, and people just come in from any creative universe that you can think of. You can make a character for it. Character types include disgustingly cute furry things, androids, Indiana Jones types.
It's an Avalon Hill.
Okay. I want to look into that.
It's bonkers.
Bonkers is good. I like bonkers.
Let's see. Rambo
why I hang out with
effect,
these people.
the Trenchcoat effect, the Rogers and Hammerstein effect, the Roy Rogers effect, the Doolittle effect, the Flynn effect, the Valentino, and the Schwarzenegger effect. Okay.
All right.
As part of our podcast, we regularly do what we call not a book clubs.
Okay.
Because not everybody on the show is a reader. We review older TV shows, we review movies. Technically, the Monty Python episode wasn't technically a not a book club, but we did do a comparison between the two Sabrina shows. Okay. But
a lot more side boob in the new Sabrina, I'm just saying.
I recognize the star from Mad Men when she was like 6.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you're aware of this.
Probably not. Go ahead.
You probably are. C. Thomas Howell.
Oh, your crush.
Did a TV show.
Your crush.
Back in 1996 called Kindred, the Embrace.
I vaguely remember the existence of that. Was it based on the game?
Yes.
Are we? You kidding? Really?
Yes.
That's a thing.
I have the VHS set.
Me too.
The VHS set.
I met him
Oh, my
at
stars.
Scaricon a couple years ago. And I was trying really, he was my first celebrity crush. I loved The Outsiders. But I'm like, I just wanted to tell you that I'm such a huge fan. I'm trying really hard not to fangirl out. He's like, oh, thank you. And I'm like, and I got to tell you, loved Kindred. And he went, what? He couldn't believe I brought up Kindred.
Well, it was on for less than one season?
One season.
One season. Seven episodes.
1996.
It didn't even survive to the halfway break.
Nope. But I loved it. It was so cheesy and amazing. Yes.
Kelly Rutherford. That's who that is.
Who's Kelly Rutherford?
Oh, you would know when you saw her. Blonde.
Top Gun.
No.
No, that's Kelly McGillis.
Oh, it's Kelly McGillis. No,
I was going to say.
Kelly Rutherford. Now I'm blanking on.
All right.
Hold on.
To the Googles.
To the Googles.
To the Googles.
Gossip Girl.
Yeah, that helps.
Melrose Place.
Really? All right, I'm looking at my damn
here
self.
she is. Kelly Rutherford.
You would know her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You see that?
Sorry, I got it.
5 degrees to Kelly Rutherford.
Oh, yeah, I think she was the intrepid reporter.
I think so.
Yeah.
She looks like she would be the intrepid reporter.
Caitlin Byrne. I don't know.
But yes. Yeah, so...
Yeah, she was the.
Yep.
If I can find it,
reporter. Yep.
we should not a book club Kindred, and you should come back and do it with us.
Happily.
I broke your
Does
phone.
anyone have a working VCR?
God, I don't think so. No, you know what I do? There's one in the attic of my new house because the guy who owned the house before left it behind.
We actually, you know what? I think we still have a DVD VHS player that we don't currently have hooked up to our TV, but it still works.
I have one. The DVD player part doesn't work, but we won't get rid of it because the VHS part does.
I don't think I don't have a TV in the house that the VHS player would actually hook up to.
I actually have a thing that you can.
There's a little converter.
I have a converter
my
because I have it
God.
for a.
Half the
I have it
podcast
for
will be us trying to
I
figure out how to attach the VHS player to the TV.
No, I have a Kindle Fire.
Special tech support edition.
I have one of the. So I have that on a TV that does not have on an analog TV. So I have the converter.
Okay. All right.
Or I'll see if I can find it and we'll watch it on Rabbit.
Right now, I'm going to search VCRs on Craigslist.
Oh, man.
God. Let's see.
So there are demons under Kodak Park.
Get a
And
VCR, DVD, CD, Blu-ray
Ancient Evils
player for
at Genesee Valley
$30.
Park.
Wow.
Yep, and I'm particularly fond of Mount Hope Cemetery.
Mount Hope Cemetery is a given.
that
Yeah,
place.
absolutely. That's great.
That Riverside Holy Sepulchre.
Uh-huh.
What other locations have I used? RIT has played a big role. The U of R.
Riverside feeds in. There's a trail along Riverside that feeds into Turning Point, that park that I was talking about earlier. They're all like that same neck of the woods there.
Okay, excellent.
Well, in 2001, I live right around the corner from RIT, so my neighborhood is kind of spooky a little bit at times. So
Excellent.
I live off of East River Road.
Okay.
And Yeah, like I said, if you ever need hey, I have an idea for a location. What do you say? Just drop me an email. I'll
Absolutely.
be happy to.
I will definitely take advantage of that.
That's I'd be happy to share just because I'm amused at the whole idea. And I may want to play sometime. If you ever need an extra body to kill off, like an NPC who's just his only purpose is to be red shirt, I'm there. I'd be good with that. I can set that up.
There are a lot of red shirts in White Wolf games.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure there's a body count.
They don't have a
My
last
whole
name.
game.
They're all just Brians,
Yeah,
We're killing them left and right.
they're not wearing red shirts. They're just named Brian. It's the same thing. The population of Rochester has dwindled by 100,000 people. Dude, it was only 110.
Oh, and
Oops.
just to get this out there, Chris, stop using Twitter. That's sort of a running joke with us. Chris gets very stressed out about Twitter sometimes.
See,
Okay.
another Chris.
Yes. See,
We collect them.
You do collect. They're 6-packs. We come in 6-packs. We're in bulk at Costco.
I like to remind him every opportunity I can.
Stay off of Twitter.
Yes.
Yeah, you're also not the only Chris Frank I know in the Rochester area.
I know there's like 3 of us.
And one of them I get emails from regularly, and it freaks me out every time because I'm like, why is Chris sending me something to my work email?
Not me.
Yeah, there's like 10 minutes of demon outtakes of me just telling Chris to stay off of Twitter.
Love it. Love it. Well, hey, man, thanks for hanging out with us this morning, whichever it is.
Thanks for having me.
That's great. We'll definitely be seeing you again soon.
Yes, absolutely.
And at worst, we'll see you at the convention itself. But we want to hear more, see more. So we'll catch up with you again. I want to get a follow-up. Because you're 1 episode into Fragments now.
Yes.
So I want to get like a half dozen or so in, or maybe a dozen episodes in, and then I want to have you come back and see how things are going. See how much of Rochester you guys have destroyed at this point.
And rebuilt.
So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about events, we'll talk about business, we'll talk about our question of the week. What's that? All right, have fun with that. So coming up in very short order, we've got a big weekend coming up. April's 12, 13, and 14. On the 12th, that Friday, kick off 2019 FC3 weekend with a party and nerd-lesque show with some of your favorite characters appearing on stage. That will be at the Firehouse Saloon, 814 Clinton Avenue South on the 12th Friday. Let's see what we got here. We're going to have raffles, trivia, and nerdy burlesque to fill the evening. Pre-sale, $8 general admission, $25 VIP. That includes a seat up front, a complimentary bottle of champagne, and a surprise, which I'm told is possibly Billy and I in a thong. That's something I was hearing a rumor of recently.
I still don't want to see that.
Now, if you get your ticket the day of, the general admission ticket rises up to $10. However, you'll get a $2 discount if you present the door person with your FC3 pass or your tickets to the Sirens and Stilettos show that's on Saturday the 13th. All right, then Saturday and Sunday, April 13th and 14th at the Blue Cross Arena.
Sunday.
And Saturday.
And Saturday.
We'll sell you the whole seat, but you only need the
Never mind.
Flower City Comic-Con. We have guests. We have fun. We had seasons in the sun. I'm hoping it's going to be sunny. I really
Wouldn't
do.
that be
Yeah.
nice?
That'd be a pleasant surprise. No, you know what? Most of the FC3 weekends have been pretty sunny so far.
Cold.
Well, not in June.
Well, no, the year before. when
Yeah,
we
the
were
year
in
before
May.
was
It was
chilly.
May.
Yeah,
Cold.
April wasn't too bad. Our first show was in April, so we're back to
Yeah.
April. We're happy about that.
But it's still not Flower City Marathon weekend.
Oh God, yeah, I can't.
So
wait
no
to avoid that.
bagpipes.
No.
Yes. Not like Dan shoving his phone underneath my door the following year
Yeah,
for the
bagpipes.
bagpipes. I'm still mad at him.
Anyway, so guests so far, we have 3 Yellow Power Rangers, Tracy Lynn Cruz, Nakia Baris, and Karen Ashley. We have artist and writer Rusty Gilligan. We have wrestler Jim Hacksaw Duggan. Yeah,
Actually, I think it's supposed to be Hacksaw.
It's Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seen it both ways.
No.
I'll switch it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
Actor,
what I think.
actor Michael Bean, who apparently you do not walk up to him and say, "Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave." You will not appreciate it, I'm told. So, not that I was going to try. I'm
But now
innocent.
you've encouraged all of our listeners to do it.
Yes. inadvertently.
Please don't.
That might have been part of my plan. Courtesy of Broken Icon Comics, there's going to be Nick Wetland and Tristan Kelly, comic artists Caitlin Yarsky and Ken Wheaton. We are still accepting applications for vendors, artists, writers, panelists, game designers, game runners, and more. Contact us for information. How'd I do?
Good.
Was that good?
Sure.
I brought
Are
up.
you looking for
smooth.
validation today?
Yes, he
I
is.
need validation today. I'm very weak and tired, so there you have it.
Wow.
Anyway, want to be part of the FC3 Monkey Business and Mighty Monkey Corporation experience? There are a few ways of doing that. The first is to become a sponsor. We have sponsorship levels of all kinds and are even willing to create custom sponsorship packets. Please contact us at sponsorships@fc3roc.org. Sherry, what else could we do to be part of the overall experience?
You can support us on Patreon.
Yay!
And if you don't know what Patreon is a way of supporting the people who are making things you love.
Yes.
Like us.
Like us.
Like us. Check us out on www.patreon.com/FC3ROC. All membership levels will include access to our Patreon-only blog and a ton of great perks at all levels. Special shout-outs to our See No Evil patrons, James Irish, Jen Bevan, and our very own Tanya Metras.
So you had a birthday recently, Tanya. And I
I
just want to
did.
ask, how's it feel to finally be 30?
Well, I haven't hit it yet, so
Next year, right?
I'm 29 plus shipping and handling.
And we'll just tell that to your 20-year-olds.
Whereas I'm getting freaking older by the day.
Yes,
Thank you
you
very
are.
much. All right. Hey, do you want to help others find the show? Please leave us a review wherever you listen to us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Podbean, YouTube, and Stitcher. Is there a place you find your podcast but you can't find FC3 Monkey Business? Let us know, and we'll see what we can do to fix that. And also, follow us on Twitter at FC3MB Podcast. If you do, say hi. We love it when you say hi. It's a thing. Spread the signal. Question of the week time. Billy,
Yes.
if you could role play in a genre or fandom, what would you want it to be?
I'm going to start with a confession before I get into that. When I
Yeah.
first saw this question, after listening to this podcast, I realized what this podcast was about. When I saw on our little Facebook message board yesterday what we were going to be talking about today, let me go to Facebook just so I can get the wording right.
Here we go. Drum roll, please.
Well, how did you word it on Facebook, Sherry?
I think I
Do you
worded
remember?
it just like that.
No, hold on a second. I've got to find it now because...
Okay, while you're finding that, I
Yeah,
will tell you
someone
that
else
I've
go
been
for it.
listening to a Real Play podcast. It's called
Fragments.
It's called Table for One.
Table for one.
Table for One. It's duet
Sounds
gaming.
like New Year's Eve last year.
It's duet gaming where it's one game runner, one player.
Okay.
Very interesting. I've been looking into that. So this was recommended by a previous person from the show, Derek Neckritz.
Right, okay.
Told me to check this one out. And the very first episode, Billy,
Yes.
it is wrestling.
Oh, awesome.
It's a wrestling one.
A wrestling
they use
podcast?
they use Fate Accelerated System, and it's the character is a wrestler.
Nice.
It was awesome, and I thought of you the entire time, Billy.
Excellent. Thank you. And I'm looking at this, and for today's session, it says horror role-playing in familiar settings, which is what this was.
Right.
Now, what I read it as is horror cosplaying in familiar
Oh,
settings.
no. Okay.
You
So
said
I'm trying to-
horror or horror?
Horror. Horror. And so I'm trying, well, I guess I'd like to be the creature from the Black Lagoon at the library.
That would
I
be
don't
fun.
know.
Come climbing out of the river.
I'm just trying. What is this podcast going to be about? We're going to dress in costumes and go to familiar places. Go to
And
our
yet
favorite
he
places.
never asked.
No, I figure I'd show up and let it happen.
See what happens.
That's more fun.
That's what we love about Billy is that it's his theory. He's basically just going to show up and let it happen and jump on for the ride when we can.
So now that you know,
The question is if you could role play in any genre. Okay, I did have an answer for this once I listened. The Batman 66
Okay.
type. That way, it's exciting
be
but
fun.
fun and silly at the same time.
And then when you hit somebody, the
It's-
words pop up over your head.
Exactly. It won't be especially dangerous because, I mean, obviously
there's no blood, there's no real like major violence.
I mean, I could wind up getting dangled over a
a pool of sharks.
Billy,
or something.
I'm
but
going to
yeah.
send you a link to that wrestling RPG podcast because it's just a one-shot. All of them are one-shots, and it's fun and silly and over the top, and the guy running it, the guy playing it, they're both really, really good. I think you'd enjoy just listening to this. Even if it's just listen to the first one, I think you'd enjoy it.
So I will. Thank you very much. And so I'm going Batman 66 or Looney Tunes.
There you go.
I want to role play in the Looney Tunes
RPG, isn't there?
I think so, but I don't think we're talking about whether it doesn't exist or not. I think it was just what particular genre or fandom, any
I'm just
system.
saying that I think there is one for that.
I think there might be, or at least some sort of cartoon type of.
I want to be the coyote.
There you go.
What are you going to do when you catch the Roadrunner?
Survive falling
Never
damage.
does. That way I'll just get to play forever.
There you go. There you go. Tanya,
Yes.
how about you?
I was going to say, we've role played in a lot of different genres and fandoms and
stuff,
things like that. So
Is there one that you've played already that you'd like to go back to?
we talked about this one last.
Game of Thrones? Just to torture my...
Just to torture Christopher.
I got put in some really seriously bizarre situations when we were doing a Game of
Awkward.
Thrones.
Is
I didn't know
definitely-
you guys
Awkward
did
is
that.
definitely the thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we did a Game of Thrones a little...
We were Chris and I were siblings.
Yes.
and we decided
several
that,
years ago now.
Yeah, well, a couple games that we've been siblings in, and it's
It was when Game of Thrones was, I think, maybe...
recent.
It was 2 seasons in on TV at that time.
So
That
about
time we got
14
around.
years ago.
Yeah, something like that. You know.
Sorry, I inadvertently turned on the heater underneath
But
my
our
feet.
friend Robin was playing Marjorie, and Queen Marjorie, and so here I am playing the head of my little minor house, and she's sitting right next to me, and she does this whole persuasion check to, well, how you doing, Sir Tristan? It's so nice to see you.
And he totally failed.
And I
Tristan.
failed. Yeah, I did. I played a Tristan, and because it was easy, and so she does this whole. She rubs my shoulder at the gaming table, and she goes, "Tristan, I think I have some things that I want to talk to you about." And I rolled my resistance check, and I failed miserably. And then she rolled her persuasion check, and it's all D6s, right? And only one of she rolled 7 or 8 dice, and only one of them came up not a 6. And so the entire table is cracking up. They're dying laughing, and I'm like, "Yes, Your Grace."
So
I was
so I think I would go back and do definitely the fantasy or sci-fi. I'm not a
Okay.
big fan of the Western, even though I'd probably go back and play Deadlands or whatever, that type of thing, but I'm just not a necessarily big fan of that, probably because I just don't. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly turned me off to it.
Okay.
So, but medieval fantasy.
Mitch, I'm going to come over to you.
All right.
And I'm going to say, if you could role play in any genre or fandom, what would you want it to be?
Transhumanist sci-fi, a la Altered Carbon.
Altered Carbon. Okay, very cool. That's a good one. I like that one very much.
That is neat. That is neat.
How about you, young lady?
If I was going to go back to one that I've previously played, it's one that we will do with the Test Kitchen. I've already got a game master willing to do it, and I love the Beyond the Supernatural system.
Okay.
I love that. It's my favorite horror system.
Digits.
I just really, really love it.
Could I play a Winchester?
The Next Generation.
This is way before Supernatural.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah. BTS is definitely one of my favorite gaming systems ever.
All right. What makes it so cool?
I just really the mechanics are really easy. It's modern, and I've played Cthulhu, but I prefer modern horror.
Okay.
It's unlike with most of the White Wolf. It's just people. I mean, my character. The last time I played, my character was she was an archaeology professor. And a pessimist, and there was all these we just had a lot of fun with it. And the person who was going to run it for us, who's agreed to run it for us, was the one who ran it for me that I ran years ago.
Okay.
And he's one of the best game masters I've ever played with. And I just think it's going to be a lot of fun. I really love it's a very simple mechanics, but there's a lot you can do with it. Have you ever played Beyond the Supernatural?
I have not.
No.
All right. Well, there you go. At least you have something we can work on.
Yep, and if it was just something that there isn't one, I'm going to go back to the same thing that I talked about last week, Eureka.
Eureka would be fun.
That would be a fun
fun.
world to role play
All right.
in.
I can see that. That'd be entertaining. For me, it's pretty. I always have a couple of answers. All right. The first one that popped into my head when I saw the question the other day was Arrowverse.
Oh.
Okay. So definitely
a grittier superhero one than most of the superhero games.
Yeah, so hang out with the Flash, see Green Arrow in action, all the rest of the gang. But then my off the beaten track, Killjoys.
Haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you gotta watch that one.
Haven't found it yet. It's not on any of my streaming services.
Really?
Yeah.
Sci-Fi on demand or anything like that?
I don't have it.
Not on DVD at all? I gotta see if it's on DVD.
Yeah, I just don't own it, so I've been looking for it. You've actually recommended that show to me a couple of times.
So that would be my answer.
Dark Matter.
Dark Matter would be cool too.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. Although I want my memory.
But that would be an interesting way to play.
Yeah. I've played that. I've DM'd that kind of a game. I set it up one time where I knew I was setting up a one shot, and so I didn't even tell the players what game system we were going to be in. I had everything all mapped out. I'd had a couple of ideas. I let them roll. They chose, not knowing what they were choosing. I had them roll a dice, and that came up on the chart that I had kind of crafted during a business meeting because I was tired. And so I knew the system. I generated all of the characters. I came up with the character sheets. I came up with little dossiers and whatnot, and I gave them little pieces of paper with descriptions of what they could see, but they didn't even know what they looked like.
Oh, wow.
So if Sherry was playing and my character met her, she would hand me her description without having read it.
Oh, wow.
Or I would hand it out to you as the game master.
Chris handed it out to
someone was going into a blind.
Exactly.
Yes.
Everybody was going in blind.
We woke up in cells.
Yep. They woke up in cells. So they had to figure out how to escape, what they were doing there. They had to piece it all together. And then they're like, they had these special bracelets on that had these green stones, and they're like, what is this all about? Why do I have this massive headache? What's going on? Who are you? And they start.
See, I want to play that game.
Okay.
I want to. That sounds amazing.
And then the giveaway for the players was eventually they came across a symbol from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait a second. And then it kind of started evolving from there, and they started figuring, and then they started finding ways to break the bracelets off, and they realized that they were in a Hydra base. And that they were all like low-level agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but some of them had powers. Some of them were just trained, And then when our buddy Doug found out that he was basically a walking flamethrower, things got much more interesting. And
cool.
I had telepathy or something.
I don't remember. It was,
I can't remember.
Yeah, and then your husband was playing somebody who was associated with Asgard, but it was an alien race that I had created kind of on my own. So that was but he was a hunter for the Allfather. That was his premise.
Nice.
So they're fighting all this stuff out, and then of course they had this big epic battle scene where they're beating back on zombies and stuff like that. And then a couple of the Avengers showed up, and it was a lot of fun. But at first, nobody had any idea what the hell was going on, and I loved that aspect of it. That was so much fun for me.
That sounds fascinating. I would love to try that.
All right, I can definitely. I'll wing that together for a test kitchen.
Yeah,
that'll be a good time. So now I've blown that one. I have to come up with something entirely different.
It cannot be S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, it still could be S.H.I.E.L.D.
I'll come up with the random tables, and you guys just roll it out, and then we'll see what game system you're in.
Flip it. Yeah, everyone's from Hydra in a S.H.I.E.L.D. prison.
There you go, in a S.H.I.E.L.D. prison. Or it's a Hydra base, and they have S.H.I.E.L.D. prisoners, and the prisoners are breaking out. What do you do?
Yeah.
And they're all super-powered guys. That could be fun. How to contain a group of superheroes. All right.
Does anyone want to get off the elevator before we start?
Yeah. I was watching that last night.
You were.
That was on. Winter Soldier was on. Or not Winter Soldier.
Civil War.
Civil War. So, all right. I think that's enough. We're good. There it is. Oh, I hate that music. All right, this has been Monkey Business, a product of the Mighty Monkey Corporation, purveyors and producers of the Flower City Comic-Con, coming at you April 13th and 14th at the Blue Cross Arena. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us wherever we go, and we will lead you to where the entertainment is. We love you, we miss you, can't wait to see you again next week. You hope we have a great one, and for the rest of the gang, we will say now,
dun dun.